Hello everyone, my name is Laura
And I'm Tyler.
and we are from
Our Story's Lab.
Now, if it's your first time seeing us on camera, you might be wondering, hey, who are these two guys? Well, you can think of us as professional storytellers, whereby we use the science of storytelling and content marketing to build your brand. Yes, we're talking about personal branding here. It is relevant for you if you are building a business or are looking to grow your career, because a strong personal brand can escalate that growth. And we are here to help. To date, we have empowered more than 300 entrepreneurs, freelancers, corporate employees, and job seekers to build a successful personal brand on LinkedIn.
So that's right, by establishing a personal brand online, someone has been able to boost their sales, they've been able to secure jobs even during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Wow, even during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yeah, and all this is achieved through the power of building their personal brand online.
There is a reason why we're so focused on this word storytelling, and the reason is this. Well, stories are powerful. Stories help to create connections, and as humans, we all desire connection, right? Connection with who? Well, connection with your potential client, or connection with your potential boss or recruiter. And it's important to build connection and relevance with your audience before you can ask them to, buy your products or services, or even when you apply for jobs.
Or in some cases, to lose a job.
To lose a job? What do you mean?
Alright, so hear me out. I meant quit a job. I have this story of mine. This candidate came for an interview. He's been working with this company for 9 years without a raise. I had to ask him, why do you still stay there and why are you trying to look out now? And he said, I have a 12-year-old son and I want to put him through college. And he said that many years to put it together. So he did some financial planning, looked at the numbers, and he realized he couldn't earn enough in his current job to be able to put his son through college. So that was a very painful story to listen to, because if you look at his face, hear him talking about it, you can tell this guy thinks he's sort of a failure of a father. That story really moved me because I felt his pain and I felt the need to really coach him. I didn't learn anything from it, but I just coached him to get his job, and I was so happy when I saw that he got the job as a senior software developer with this bank. And yeah, that was a story that really moves me to want to do this and keep doing it.
Wow, I see. That's such an impactful story, and it's pretty amazing to see how a story like this could actually move you to make a career change, right? From a recruiter to a career coach today. Tyler, how does storytelling link or relates to personal branding?
So I'm a very technical person, and let's start by defining what personal branding is. A personal brand is the image people have about you, what they feel and think about you. So through your words, through your actions, what you do, people form an idea of what you represent, and that essentially is your personal brand.
But where does storytelling come in?
So where storytelling comes in is basically this. Only you have all the experience that you've had. You think back over your life professionally and personally as well. Only you have an accumulation of all that experience that you have, and that becomes your story, and that is your power basically.
That's true. In fact, I believe everyone has a unique story to tell. Even if you don't tell stories, people already have perception about you. Whether you realize it or not, everyone has a personal brand because people always have thoughts about you. Let me just put that theory into a test. I'm gonna ask Tyler right now, if you want to describe me in 3 words, what would it be?
This isn't scripted, by the way. Okay, I'm put on the spot here. So let me just come up with 3 words. Reliable, digital marketer, and a problem solver.
Okay, that's correct. That is the message that I wanted to portray. So my personal brand is on track.
No, now I get to ask you the question too. Give me 3 words.
Okay, number 1, writer. Number 2, humility. And number 3, people person.
Okay, yeah. That's fine.
So the words that we use to describe each other are essentially what makes up our personal brand. If you notice that when I describe Tyler, I did not just describe him based on his job, which is a writer, but I also used the word humility and also people person to describe him. Same goes to Tyler, right? Earlier he said I'm a digital marketer, which is my career, but then he also said that I'm reliable, and what's the third word that you said?
Problem solver.
Yeah, he said I'm a problem solver. These words that are being used are essentially what makes us more unique. We are not just another writer, not just another digital marketer. These are traits which essentially set you apart from the crowded marketplace today.
Yeah, so when she mentions crowded marketplace, right? I want you to imagine this. Let's say you're applying for a very popular job. Let's say digital marketing. Let's say there's 100 applicants for the same job you're applying for. So out of this 100 digital marketers, why should you be the one digital marketer that this company decides to hire? Your skill set is about the same, experience is about the same. At the end of the day, the deciding factor, and I've been in recruitment by the way, it's usually always the personality.
I kind of completely agree with Tyler, because it happened the same for me when I first started freelancing as a social media marketer, I had so many competition. In fact, a recent statistic that I just read online is that we have about 4 million
Seriously?
freelancers in Malaysia.
Wow.
And how was I going to differentiate myself from the competition? How was I going to make clients choose my services over my competitors? It was all through the power of personal branding that really saved my career.
Yeah, and speaking of saving your career, I quit my job, I mentioned, right? I was supposed to start my own business, but that failed during the COVID-19 pandemic. So of course I had to go back to the job market, right? Let's be realistic. I realized I had to compete with 600,000 other people who were just jobless as well. How was I going to cut through all the noise? I'm not going to apply to job portals because that's going to be so saturated, right? What I did was to build a personal brand online on LinkedIn. I carried that forward, and within about a month of actively working on it, I got about 3 job offers and I took one. So
wow. If at this point you're thinking, okay, Laura and Tyler, I want to start building my personal brand, but I don't know when is the right time. Let me tell you, there is no better time to build your personal brand than right now. It's because we all have social media. Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, they are all accessible. And the best part of social media, it is all free. Anyone can start creating stories and share on social media today. Even normal people like you and me, who are not celebrities or somebody big, well, we can be that somebody today simply by starting to create and tell our stories online.
yeah, exactly. If you think about how traditional media used to behave, right? It was all about celebrities and public figures who really dominated the media platforms.
And they are so expensive.
But with social media, that leveled the playing field for everybody. Suddenly, everyone has a voice. Think about Gary Vee, for example. He was a good example. He was a nobody before that. But after he started creating content online, on LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, he wouldn't have been given a platform by these traditional media. He kind of swears a lot. But again, because social media doesn't really filter all that, he's able to give himself a voice. And yeah, he found his place.
You don't have to be as famous as Gary Vee to start building your personal brand. Just like for me, when I started building my brand, I only had about 1,000 followers. And really, 1,000 followers is not a lot. But because I was so consistent and so focused in sharing my stories online, today I have about 3,000 followers on LinkedIn. And not just followers, they also translated into sales, because I managed to build my clientele base from 1 to 8 brands all within the span of a year. And within the same year, I also managed to grow my team into a team of 6 today.
So you see, that's the thing. Personal branding has shaped our careers and our business in ways that we couldn't possibly imagine, right? And we want you to know that that's possible for you as well. So whether you're a fresh graduate,
A freelancer,
a business owner,
or a corporate employee,
personal branding is for you.
so in the next 4 days, we will be going live to speak more about personal branding. We have some really exciting topics to share. We're going to be speaking about LinkedIn marketing, personal branding for fresh graduates, personal branding for freelancers, and on day 5,
There were prizes to be won. So you really don't want to miss out on that. Make sure you tune in, yeah? So
yeah, the prize is really attractive, so mark your dates. And we're going to tune off right now. We're going to see you tomorrow. So thanks for watching and bye.
Hi guys, welcome and thank you so much for joining us on a Wednesday evening. My name is Jonah. Welcome to our brand new late night show. This is where we'll be featuring leaders from their respective industries to talk about their experiences, failures, and how they bring their business to the next level. So many of our guests here share their passion and drive to do well, and we hope this will be able to motivate you to step out of your comfort zone. So many of our guests here share a passion. So in today's session, we have Laura, who is an experienced social media marketer and personal branding coach with a passion for helping brands and individuals in maximizing the power of social media for their business and career. In less than 1 year, Laura has actually went from freelancer to the founder of Our Stories Lab with a team of 6 through building her personal brand on LinkedIn by creating a solid by creating a solid branding and storytelling strategy. She managed to attract sales, leads, and collaborations, which accelerated her sales growth from 1 to 8 clients, generating thousands of dollars for her business. Laura was also featured as one of the top 70 rising personalities on LinkedIn in Malaysia by Marketing in Asia. So just before I invite Laura onto the stage, right, I do hope you guys can support this session by sharing this to people whom you think might benefit from this. And if you wish to connect with like-minded individuals, I do highly encourage you guys to join our 100x Connecting Entrepreneurs community. This is where we'll be having 2 Zoom sessions every single night from 9 p.m. till late, and we'll have speakers speaking about everything from health, wealth to relationships, all for free. So all these links will be linked up in the comment section below. So without further ado, now let's welcome Laura Wong to share her story and experiences with us. Hi Laura, thank you so much for actually joining us on a Wednesday evening. Thank you, thank you. And
Hi, Jonah.
hey,
Nice to meet you.
good to have you onto the show. Like, yeah, Laura, do tell us a bit about yourself, your journey, from being self-employed, from being employed to self-employed, and now running a business. How was it like?
Right. So, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having me on the show. Super excited to be speaking with Jonah. I have been following him for some time. Even I was part of the audience, of the late night show. So, really, it's amazing to be now a guest on this show. So, thank you so much again, Jonah, for having me. Yes, for the audience, hi, good evening. My name is Laura. I'm the founder and social media strategist of our Stories Lab, as well as a personal branding coach. And our mission here at our Stories Lab is to help individuals and brands stand out online, maximize the power of social media and storytelling for your business and career. Now, we do that in a couple of ways. We work with you to identify what's unique about you, either on your personal brand or your business. And then, we support you with social media strategies so that you can take your brand online, right? So whether it is for your own individual branding or for your company branding, we are able to support either way because we do have a team of professional storytellers, passionate designers, copywriters to support you in your journey in building a solid brand online, right? We'll be doing this for close to 2 years now. And you know what? As you were reading my speaker profile, I just realized I forgot to update our team size right now. We're actually now a team of 10, no longer a team of 6. So I definitely need to get into this afterwards.
Cool, no worries. Yep.
Yeah. So, anyways, regarding your question about how I started and got into this journey. So, I was previously in a corporate job. Not exactly a corporate because it was a startup, right? And at that point, it was where I got my very first experience in social media management. So, in my previous full-time job, I was working as a social media manager. And because the startup was so small, I was given the opportunity to handle everything regarding social media, right? So from the planning, the strategy, to photography, to videography, I was like the director, the script writer, the, videographer. And I was also the editor afterwards because I had to edit all of these things by myself. And then also, posting it out on social media across many channels, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter even. So those were my responsibilities when I was working full time. At that point, I was thinking to myself, wow, that's crazy. How can one person handle so much? But I was like looking back, I was really grateful that I was thrown into that deep ocean to handle everything on my own, because it was those skill set that gave me the confidence to start freelancing on my own afterwards. So once I left my corporate job, I decided that I want to try to manage a business on my own. So what I thought to myself is that one of the cheapest, most low risk way to start a business is to become a freelancer, correct? Because you are your only cost, and if all else fails, then you are the only you are responsible for your own loss. So the risk was really low, and I thought to myself, hey, just gonna try freelancing, and if this works, it could potentially turn into a business, right? So I started freelancing, and I was pretty fortunate to get my first client within 2 weeks after I left my full-time job. So with that first client, I'm not sure if you've heard of her. She's pretty quite a big name in Malaysia actually. Her name is Panda Lela Rinong, our national sports diver. Right, so I work along with her manager to manage her Instagram page, right, during the Olympic campaign season. Back before COVID-19 actually happened, so we were really excited for Olympics, and we were preparing and managing her Instagram page on this. So I started with one client, and through building my personal brand on LinkedIn, I was able to grow and attract more visibility on my freelance services. from building that personal brand, not only I was able to get my second or third client, but the fourth and fifth one came. And since then it was history, right? I from this experience building my brand online, I was able to turn my freelance career into a business, into now an agency that our Stories Lab, able to grow from a one-man show to now a team of 10, and yeah, we are still doing that today, right?
Interesting. So just before we continue, right, I'd like to welcome some of our members or our audiences who are actually on Facebook. So we have Ian, we have Cargo, we have Adrian. Thank you so much for actually tuning in. And on Clubhouse, we have Jasmine, Connie, Angel, Michelle, Anne, Shiva, Haley, Melanie, David, Michael, Liga, Levine, Yuan. Thank you so much for actually joining us on a Wednesday evening, guys. It means a lot. So yeah, Laura, how was it like to actually find a business partner? Because I see that you actually started off freelancing and then later on you started this business. How was it like finding a business partner? Because a lot of people are having trouble in that.
Right. Right. So to put it frankly, I don't actually have a business partner yet, but it's as in it is not registered on paper, but we do partner with a lot of freelancers to get started on this business, right? As I mentioned earlier, my business started as myself becoming a freelancer, and I knew that hey, if I want to grow and if I want to take on more clients, if I want to deliver high quality service without compromising all of my time and effort, I need people on my team. So from the very beginning, I have set it in my mind that I definitely need people in my team. I don't mind earning lesser at the start. More importantly is I have the right people on my team so that, our foundation is strong, and then moving forward, we can, hire full-timers and grow this business together. So I was very blessed to have met many credible freelancers and consultants through LinkedIn. So that is why, LinkedIn is really one of the favorite platforms that I strongly advocate, because it is not just a platform to gain sales and clients, but it is a platform that can connect you with the right people, right? That could potentially be partners for your team. And that was what happened to me, right? Because I spent so much time on LinkedIn building my brand, I started to gain visibility from other like-minded individuals who shared, the same passion as I do, in storytelling and in social media. They started to get attracted to the business that I was running. And from there, I got inquiries from freelancers who wanted to work with me. Yeah. So from there, we had a chat and we noticed, we could work together. And that was how I managed to get my first 5 freelancers, right, to start on with my team.
Wow. Attracting actually 5 freelancers to work with you. Like how was that process like? Because a lot of us, when we first start, like, we even find it hard to find people to come work with us. You have 5 freelancers who are very willing to come and work for you. Was it on like a full-time basis, or was it like they working actually freelance for you and then later on joining the business?
Right. So I would say that the freelancers that work with us usually work on a retainer basis. So I guess, firstly, having a strong business model where, the freelancers can also benefit money in monetary sense is very important, because we always believe we don't like to use work for free. Right. So it's really important that we get that defined at the early stage, a well-set business model that the freelancers can also earn something. That is really very important. Of course, the second part is being able to identify whether you share similar working ethics and culture. Of course, this one is not as easy to identify, but I would say that through LinkedIn, and especially for people who post consistently on LinkedIn, you can roughly tell what their work ethics is like, what is it going to be like roughly working with them, just from the way they talk about themselves, from the way they describe, their work, their passion. I think, connecting with people through LinkedIn and being able to engage with their content definitely helps me to get a better understanding on what it is like to potentially work with them. But of course, for you yourself as a business owner, it's really important that you have your personal brand being built as well, because these days, especially young freelancers, when they choose to work with a company, they always depend on who is the leader, right? So they need to like the leader. They need to feel like, wow, this leader is inspirational. I can relate to his or her story. I want to, somewhat become like this person someday. These are things that, young millennial freelancers especially are looking for these days. So if you can show them that, if you could demonstrate that, hey, working with me is not just about for the money, but it is also about the things that you can learn. It's also about the passion that we share and the passion that we get to turn into a work, if you are able to demonstrate that to these millennial freelancers, you can definitely get them on board with you to work together for your business, I would say.
Wow, cool. Just before we go into LinkedIn, right? We would love to learn a little bit about yourself, your whole journey and your thought process. Like, so do actually explain or actually enlighten us on how you actually spend your weekends, like, and what was the toughest time that you actually went through?
Right. So I would love to tell everyone that I spend my weekend, meditating lah, go to pool and swim or enjoy food. But the true reality as a business owner is I would say a lot of my weekend, definitely one of the days I would still be working because I have to catch up on a lot of work that cannot be completed over the weekdays, especially now that I have teammates coming in full time. A lot of my weekdays are spent guiding, coaching my teammate, making sure that work is aligned and so forth. So unfortunately, as of this stage, a lot of my work is still spill over to the Saturday, but usually I try to take Sundays off because I really believe that, we should rest at least one day to really recover, recharge. And especially because I know you can't tell, but I'm actually an introvert. So it's probably not very obvious. Yeah, so as an introvert, having my alone time and having rest for myself is super, super important. Otherwise, I can't go out and, be the person that I am that you see right now, right? Because, without that alone time, I definitely will not be able to have this kind of energy. So usually I try to take my Sundays off, and on Sundays I would typically be in church. So I do attend church regularly or spend time with my friends. And usually on Sunday night, it would be dinner with family. Back when MCO happened, I tried to cook for my family. Tried. I thought that pattern didn't stay long, but I will try to pick that cooking hobby back again because I realized that cooking and experimenting with new dishes actually is something that helps me to relax.
I see. How do you actually balance? Is there a balance, or you actually integrate work life into your whole culture? How is it like at home? Do you integrate
Right.
or do you separate it out?
I would say as of this point is integrate, but I also try to create some separation if possible. So what really worked for me is number one, having an office space. So previously, as when I was freelancing, I didn't rent an office. I was working from home or working from cafes. And at that point, I really enjoyed that lifestyle because, young millennials just working from wherever you want. It looks like a really cool trend before COVID, right? So I was really enjoying that lifestyle. What were you saying? Sorry.
Working in a co-working space.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even work in a co-working space back then. I was just like enjoying my work from home time and just in the cafe and so forth. And while that was a really enjoyable lifestyle, but later on I found out that I was really working nonstop, right? Because home is office and there's no like end time, so you can just end up working like till 10, 11, or even like 12 midnight, and there's just no very clear line on where to stop. So that is why this year, when 2021 started, I made a very conscious effort to move into an office because I really want to start separating my work life and my personal life. Not to say that I want to create a clear separation because again, as a business owner, you can't exactly do that. You can't exactly push aside your business and don't want to care, right? You will still need to care. But at least, making sure there is work time and there's rest time. So I would say 70% of the time is successful, where, I will spend 8 a.m. up to 7 p.m. in the office, and then after that I come home and I just rest. I try not to touch my laptop. I will just spend time with family, play games on my phone, watch dramas.
Wow.
I love to watch YouTube videos, and recently I am into documentaries. Yeah, so documentaries of different cultures. So because I actually am a person who really loves traveling and I really love discovering new cultures, and discovering new cultures is one of like my motivation for travel. But since now I am not able to travel, so what I do is I learn about these cultures through documentaries, and it's been pretty eye-opening to see what's happening around the world that we do not know of. And yeah, documentaries are really cool, and that's something I try to do often these days.
Wow, thank you for actually sharing your bit of your personal life. So like all our audience here can actually get a bit more grasp on who you actually really are, not just work, but somebody like I think a lot of people, like even myself, I can relate to because I will watch a lot of YouTube videos. But for myself, my YouTube videos will be interviews because I love listening to really inspirational people speak. So I learn in that sense. So yeah,
Nice.
sharing, Laura. Yeah. So just before we continue on, I would like to thank our audience who actually have been tuning in. If you guys have any questions for Laura, right, I highly encourage you guys on Facebook, do drop us a message. Do drop us a comment so we can actually answer your question. And if you are listening to this on Clubhouse, I highly encourage you guys to actually message me, send me a DM on Instagram, and that's how I can actually ask your question on behalf of yourself. So Laura, cool. My first question to you is, since we are on the topic of personal branding, right? How do you actually find the right platform for you, right? Some
Mm.
content creators are more towards social media, but they don't know which social media they should
Yeah.
strive towards. What would
Yeah.
your advice be?
Yeah, so in order to identify the right social media platform for you, the first question you want to ask yourself is, what is your objective of building a personal brand? Okay, is it to promote your business? And if so, what is the nature of your business? Is it primarily a B2B business, a B2C? What kind of products and services are you offering? Because this really dictates which platform is going to be more suitable for you to build your personal brand on. If let's say you are building it for business, if you are building it for your career, you're looking to get noticed by recruiters, get noticed by hiring managers, then of course you want to find the ideal platform where your recruiters and hiring managers are on, right? Most of the time people will say it's on LinkedIn, which is true, but of course there are some companies, startups, lifestyle brands that are maybe more active on Instagram, right? I actually, in my previous full-time job, I actually got the job by discovering them on Instagram and actually dropping them a message through a DM. So it was pretty funny. It was not through LinkedIn. It was actually through Instagram first. And then later on, we moved on to email and more formal platforms. But yes, first thing first is really identifying what your objective is. Okay, and then of course the next question that you want to ask yourself is, where will my audience be? Where are they mostly active on? Right? So coming back to the objective, let's say you're building it for a F&B business. Well, then most likely these audience are more active on platforms like Facebook or Instagram, right? Or maybe mostly on Instagram because it's a very lifestyle-based platform. But if you are building your personal brand for, for instance, a recruitment business where, it's heavily reliant on talents and candidates, then of course it makes perfect sense to build your personal brand on a platform like LinkedIn, where most of the candidates, companies who need recruitment services are on those platforms. Yeah, so identifying where your audience are mostly active on will definitely help when determining which platform is suitable for you. Of course, these days we have new platforms like Clubhouse, for instance, which it's still a very much untapped platform, I would say, and it's definitely one of a very good platform to be looking at in building your personal brand as well, especially for things related to businesses, entrepreneurships, stuff like that. But I also see a lot of lifestyle conversations happening on Clubhouse right now. Like I've seen languages, yoga, stuff like this. So really, where actually there's no perfect platform or only one platform that you want to be building your platform, so that you want to be building your personal brand upon. But if you want to start, right, the best way is to first start by asking yourself these two questions. So number one, what is your objective? And number two, where are your audience?
Wow, thank you so much. I think finding your objective and understanding where your audience are is really crucial. Like you can't be on the rock platform and still be crushing it. Like for yourself, for example, Laura, I see that you are actually doing really well on LinkedIn. And how has actually LinkedIn propel your brand forward? And are
Yeah.
you actually just mainly focusing on LinkedIn, or do you have presence on both LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, all these platforms all at the same time? Do you think that it is important to just focus on one, be the best in one platform, or spread it out across all?
Yeah, so I think that's a very interesting question. So the question here is, whether when you start building your personal brand, should you start off with one first, or be present everywhere, right? Something like what Zalora is doing. They are present everywhere, not just on social media, but like they're even following you on websites and so forth, and that's why you just cannot forget about them. Now, there's no right or wrong to this question. Instead, the question that you want to ask yourself to answer that question is first, how much resources and time do you have? Okay, now if you're just starting out with you, yourself, and no one else, I would highly encourage that you first start off with just one platform. Why? Because one platform itself, trust me, it will take up all your time and energy and focus just to really build a strong, solid personal brand on that platform. Okay, because here's the thing, when you first start off, especially on one platform, you want to make sure you create a super good impression on this platform. Because if you were just gonna create like a very mediocre presence that is like just another person trying to stand out, but there's nothing unique or that you can add to the conversation, there's nothing else that is valuable that you can bring to your audience, well, trust me, that personal brand is going to die off very soon, because again, it's just another person trying to stand out. But if you invest your time, energy to really strategize what your personal brand is going to be, what is something unique you can bring to the conversation that you can add to the table, how can you position yourself within that platform so that you can remain attractive and relevant to your audience, that itself will bring a much better result compared to you trying to be on many platforms but have a very mediocre personal brand. Of course, as your personal brand grows, you have more resources, you have people helping you, for instance, graphic designers, copywriters, people to support with the scheduling of your posting and so forth. Then you should start expanding on other platforms, because even though I really advocate LinkedIn as a platform to start off with, but I don't believe this is the only platform that works. Facebook still works, Instagram still works, Clubhouse definitely, right? And even platforms like TikTok, even though there's a lot of younger generations over there, but still, it is a platform that is booming, right? So the moment you are able to invest in more resources, have teammates to support you, then start expanding on other platforms, because yes, LinkedIn is not the only place that you want to be. Ideally, you should try other platforms as well. Of course, first meeting the objective, as well as whether your audience are actually on the platform lah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. So you actually mentioned about having a unique position in terms of your branding. So how would you actually categorize people who have a personal brand but they just starting off? How would you actually advise them to go about this? Like finally they found a platform. Say for example, they would like to do Instagram, right? And they are doing maybe a more fashion orientated business. How would you actually position them in such a way that they can propel their brand for like a personal brand, how can you actually start off being and actually starting off on Instagram, for example?
Right. So you want to think of your personal brand like a brand that you would be creating for commercial purposes, right? And with every brand creating for commercial purposes, the key question that you always want to ask yourself is, what is your unique selling point, right? What can your brand add to the conversation, or what can your brand do to solve a pain point of your potential customer? Because every brand ideally should have an audience, right? No matter if you're running a business or not, you should have an audience. Even a job seeker, your audience would be your potential company that you want to join, right? For instance, or maybe you are looking to just build a presence among a certain community, for instance, among women entrepreneurs. So ask yourself, what can you add to the conversation of women entrepreneurs? What is your unique selling point to this community, right? Maybe you can talk about something that is different from others, right? For instance, if you are running perhaps a social enterprise, obviously your unique selling point could be something to do with social entrepreneurship. How can you add social elements into your entrepreneurship journey? How could you revamp your business model and add social element into it? Something like that. So really identifying what your brand unique selling point is would be a good start to your personal brand. Of course, this part is not super easy to define. It's something that you need to keep asking a lot of questions to yourself. For instance, what kind of pain points am I solving, right? Like, who am I helping exactly? And if I say I'm helping them, what and how am I helping these people? Ask yourself questions like that to really identify what is your value to your audience. At the end of the day, a strong brand that is able to grow and resonate with the audience is one that is able to solve a problem. The moment you are able to solve a problem and offer some sort of value to your audience, that is what I would say is a brand that stands out. Because a lot of people will associate personal branding as like self-promotion, like very shock sendiri, right? It's just, oh, I'm so good, I'm the best, I'm the expert. I know everything about this particular industry. So people tend to associate personal branding as that, talk about what is good about you, all the awards that you won, which I believe these are elements that, of course, having those elements in your personal brand definitely helps you elevate your credibility. But the core essence of what a solid personal brand is one that is able to provide value for the audience. So find that value that you can offer first and make that the core of your personal brand.
Wow, finding the value. I think that I really resonate with you in terms of that, and actually finding the pain points. What are the pain points, and what is the value that you can do, and your unique selling point, right? What actually makes you different from the rest of the competition. Thanks, Laura. So we actually speaking to Laura Wong, founder and social media strategist at Our Stories Lab, and today we are actually talking about how to actually utilize social media to your advantage. And this is a series of how you actually build your own personal brand. So thanks, Laura. Thanks for sharing that. To our audience here who are on Facebook, if you guys have a question or anything that you would love to ask Laura, I will highly encourage you guys to actually type your questions in the comments section below, so Laura can actually answer them on your behalf. And if you have a question specifically relating to your own industry, I would highly encourage you guys to do that as well. And to our audience on Clubhouse, if you guys have any questions that you would love to ask Laura, do send me a DM on Instagram and I'll ask them on your behalf. Thanks, Laura. So next on, my question will be like, how do you actually personal branding and business branding? Sometimes it is very hard to differentiate the both, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you have your own personal brand, but at the same time, you have the business brand that you really want to grow, because that is the brand that you want it as the face, not yourself. How do you actually want to answer these kind of people?
Right. So of course, building a personal brand and a company brand, the purpose is always different. But of course, for small business owners, there is a strong tendency to confuse the objective between these two. Company brand ideally should represent the organization as a whole, right? It should represent the company values, the company mission, vision, and what exactly is the pain point they are trying to solve for the customer. Your personal brand, what the main difference is that it is ideally about you. Okay, so I understand that for most business owners, they are the company and the company is them, because they're just starting out, and that's actually not an issue at the start. When your company is very small, when you are just a one-man show, that is not an issue. You don't have to try so hard to separate those two things. The issue comes, of course, is when you have more team members on the team, more clientele, more companies, getting to know you. Then that is the point you want to start. Not to say separate them completely, but focus on building them separately as well, right? Because you don't just want you to be the only face of your company. In that case, it's going to be very tiring for you as a business owner, as you have to deal with all your clients. Clients will only come to your company just for you alone. They don't really want to work with your teammates because they don't think your teammates are as capable as you. So these are the issues that can potentially arise if you focus to build just your personal brand alone without building that company brand. So at the start, it's fine, right? Because again, if it's just you, your team is super small, it's fine. But as you grow as a company, people start to get notice of what your service and product are, your team starts to grow, then that is where you want to really start investing in your company brand as well. Because at the end of the day, people work for, when people decide to work with you, they decide to work with your company for the values that the company share, right? The mission, the vision, not exactly just you as the business owner, but they want to work together for the team. So at that point, I would highly encourage that, start building and growing your company and employer branding as well.
Wow, cool. Thanks for sharing. So today we're actually talking to Laura Wong, who is the founder and social media strategist at Our Stories Lab. Thanks, Laura. Thanks for actually sharing that. So speaking about working with you, like some clients that I have actually seen, right? They specifically want to work with the founder, but of course, there's only so much time that you have. How
Yes.
actually overcome that? If would you actually categorize that as like if they want to work with you, you charge a higher price, but if they want to work with your team, you charge a separate price? How would you actually go about this?
Right. So of course, currently we don't do that because it's still manageable, thankfully. But of course, I do realize the importance of not building my company brand entirely on me. So that is why if you follow our Stories Lab LinkedIn recently, you realize that it's less of Laura Wong already. We start to feature more of our team faces, team efforts. We start to celebrate more of our teammates because we want the company's face to not just be about Laura Wong anymore, but ideally it should represent the whole team, right? Because again, our Stories Lab is a company is not just about Laura Wong alone. And that's actually a very good question, Jonah, because as you asked this question, it reminded me of this really famous marketer. Have you heard of him, Neil Patel?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so he is well known to be the SEO guy. That's what he's super famous for. But of course, if you go onto his website and onto his blog, he talks about all things marketing, right? So he's very famous among marketers. And he actually wrote a very interesting blog post that stood out to me. And it is titled, "Why I Regret Building My Personal Brand." Ooh. So quite a controversial to our actual topic today. But as you read on the blog post, you will find out what he means, right? Because he said that he enjoyed the benefits of personal brand at the start of his business, right? Because obviously when there is a face to the business, it is easier for the business to grow. Everyone feels more connected with a face, it's easier to relate, and it feels like you're talking to a human and not just like a robot. So he definitely reaped the benefits of a personal brand at the early stages of his business. But now that his team is so big and his company is growing so fast, and it's attracting the eyes of more clients and investors, he starts to see the downfall of building his whole company upon his name. Because if you notice, his company's name is neilpatel.com, right? So it is named after him. And what the pointers he highlighted in that blog post is people want to work with his company because of him. So if there's no him, they don't want to work with his company. And if in the future he wants to leave this company, he wants to sell it to investors, the value won't be as high. Because why? People buy Neil Patel because of Neil Patel. If he leaves the company, that is no longer Neil Patel, right? So it is being run by someone else, which is not Neil Patel. And hence, because of that, the value of the business will drop. So, the sellability of the business is also not very profitable. So because of these elements, right, that is why, he mentioned he regretted building the business entirely on his personal brand. And that is why, even though I highly encourage businesses to, especially small business owners, to start building your personal brand and leverage on that, but don't rely on that forever. Like, make sure to also, once your business reach a certain maturity stage, start building your company brand as well.
Wow, I really like how you actually shared, like, build your company brand and your personal brand simultaneously, right? So as you
Yeah.
actually you build your personal brand first, and then you start building your business brand, and then later on you basically like highlight your team to actually bring the business brand forward, and you take a step back. Is that what you mean?
Yes, yes. So of course, I don't stop featuring just me completely, but start to feature more of my teammates, and start to celebrate them, give them leadership positions to take on client-facing roles as well. I think all of this can help me as a business owner to step back a little bit and not just making client thinking that, oh, if I want to work with our stories lab, it has to be just Laura Wong, right? No, ideally it should be the company, not just me as a business owner.
How important do you see your team as? Like, a lot of people, they see their team as being the back end worker. For yourself, how much importance do you put into your own team and to make them shine? Is it really important in this sense?
Of course, right? Because when I started as a freelancer, I knew that if I want to grow, I need a team, right? I don't mind earning little at the start, but because I believe that you can only go, so I actually live by this quote, right? You say if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together, correct? So that was a quote that really stuck with me at the start of my business until today, because I strongly believe that I don't just want to go fast. I don't just want to gain overnight success, high visibility, and just all about me. I don't believe in that. I believe that in growing together with a team of people, because that is how we can go far, right? We can sustain the race and not just win first place. That is what I strongly believe. And that is why now at this stage of my business, where I have more team members, I consider them as partners, as leaders. I always tell every single one of my teammates, when you come into our stories lab, my mission is to groom you as a leader eventually. I don't want to see you doing the work forever. I want you to lead a team as well. So that is the value that we instill in our teammates, even in our interns, right? Interns that come and work with our stories lab, they are all leading projects. And we give them leadership position upfront, because even though they might feel like they're not ready, but we will groom them until they are ready, right? Because we really strongly believe in grooming and investing in talents, especially for the nature of our business. We are an agency business. We highly rely on, skilled labor, passionate labor, people who are, have the right skill set to, in order to service our clients. And that is why I personally invest a lot of time in my team, because I really believe without a strong team, we are not able to deliver the quality service for our client even.
Yeah. Speaking about team, I think this also relates a little bit to personal branding as well, because your team will actually help you propel your personal and also your business brand, right? So coming on to your team, it's quite actually disheartening to actually see people that you groom later on leave your company to work for your competitor. I think this happens in the industry a lot. Even if you sign an NDA with them, or you actually sign something with them, they will eventually come out and have their own business. How do you overcome that mindset?
Right. So of course I cannot prevent that completely. In fact, I'm probably doing something that most employers wouldn't encourage, which is I encourage my teammate to build their personal brand. Right. So we have a team exercise where, every week on Friday, it is compulsory for them to put up a weekly reflection on LinkedIn. That will help them get started on building their personal brand. And, we constantly encourage them to identify what's unique about them, talk about it on LinkedIn, connect with more people. I know this is, again, what most, employers wouldn't encourage. But personally for me, you can't stop them completely, right? Even if you say don't post anything on LinkedIn, make sure you're not being noticed by any recruiter, they will find other ways eventually, right? So if they want a new job, they will find it. So either way, you really can't stop it. So instead of stopping them, what we do is we encourage them to start creating content for themselves. Also, simply because of the nature of our business, if they can't even create good content for themselves, they can't even tell their own story, how can we expect them to tell the story for our clients? Right? Wow. Where they know themselves the best, and yet they cannot make anything interesting out of it. How can they, support our clients in creating good, interesting stories for our clients. So I think with that mentality in mind, our teammates understand why we are doing this kind of exercise and why we are encouraging them to build their personal brand. So whether or not they will stay with us for long term, I can't answer that question yet. But we'll see how it turns out. I strongly believe that when we empower our teammates, when we groom them, it's okay if they eventually leave. Of course, I hope in good terms, right? If they eventually leave, it's okay. It's a seed that we have planted in them. We have groomed them. We played our part, and they have served their purpose. So we can always move on if it's all agreeable on both ends.
I really like how you say you actually want to groom them. You want to make them shine as well. Not just you, but you want to make them the star and actually take up leadership positions. Not many companies do this. I'm really happy that you're doing this and leading the way forward. So yeah, thanks Laura. Thanks for sharing that. So to our audience here right now today, we're actually speaking to Laura Wong. She's the founder and social media strategist at Our Stories Lab. And today we're actually talking about how to utilize social media to your advantage. So Laura, my next question for you is there's some leaders, right? They don't like the limelight. They do not want to have their personal brand out there on social media, on LinkedIn, but they just want to grow their business brand. Is it still possible to actually grow a brand without personal branding being involved?
Of course, it's possible. I mean, we have seen a lot of companies who they don't really feature the leaders within the team, yet they're still doing very well in terms of gaining visibility online. Even some of my clients that I manage, for commercial brands, the founders they just don't do much for their personal brand yet. The business is still growing, right? Because they invested in the right strategies for their company brand, so their products and services are still selling very well. Okay, so that you can still see success without a strong personal brand. Of course, if you talk about long term, I would highly advise that you have both branding strategies in place, right? Because as much as you can, build the company brand and just focus 100% of your efforts on this, eventually people want to know the person. They want to see the face behind the company. They want to see who's leading the team, who's leading this kind of growth, right? And whether you like it or not, they will do a Google search on you and they will find out who you are. They'll hop onto your LinkedIn profile. They want to find out, are you really that inspirational? And if you want to appear on media, right? Because again, as most brands grow, they definitely want to start getting media attention, all right, to increase their visibility online. And who would media be talking to? The founder, right? Eventually, the leaders of the team. So I think for business owners, regardless of you like it or not, you still have a personal brand. Now the question is whether you want to manage it. Because people will still think things about you. They will still say things about you, whether you like it or not, because you are in that leadership position. You have the title. And, now the question is, how are you going to manage that perception, that personal brand of yours, right? So that you can use it to your advantage. So you don't necessarily need to always be in the limelight. If you don't want to be the face, appoint someone else, like your GM, your other partner, to take that spot. I would say it's always good to have a face behind the brand, because at the end of the day, humans like to speak with humans, right? We desire that sort of connection, and that kind of connection can only be found with a personal face, not a company logo, right? You when you look at a logo, you can't really relate to it because it's a logo. But when you look at a face, you can relate and resonate with that better. So that can create more, that can help your brand to better connect with your audience.
I see. Laura, is there any brand that in specific that you see is actually doing a very good job in terms of a personal branding and business branding? If I were to say something like this, what comes to mind?
Oh, I would say definitely. What is that guy's name again? Chatri, the one that you interviewed recently. Yeah, and his company, right? The one that's doing MMA. I would say because actually when you did that interview with him, I started to check out what he's doing, and then also his company, and I was checking out how does he, manage the brand on both on his personal side as well as his company side. And I must say, this is really one of a perfect example, because Chatri himself has a really strong story, in his background, and he really talks about his vision, and how it resonates with his whole childhood story up to date. And when you hop onto his company pages, like his company's Instagram page and Facebook page, they are all very well managed. Like they all carry the same fire, the same passion. So it resonates very well. I would say his personal brand and his company brand is one of the best examples.
Wow, cool. Thanks for sharing. I really like Chatri's story. To our audience here who do not know who Chatri Sinadong is, I will highly encourage you guys to maybe do a quick Google search on him. Chatri won championship. That is his. So he's one of the he's Asia's leading MMA. Imagine NBA or F1, but in terms of MMA, that is his niche, and he's doing a killer job in that. So thanks for sharing. I really love Chatri as well. He's super inspirational, and
yes, he is.
Right, it's like quotable. It's super quotable.
It's quote worthy.
Yeah. So coming back to personal branding and branding on social media in general, right? How would you advise our audience? Our audience here on 100X, our community, there are a lot of tech startup entrepreneurs, a lot of people who do websites, a lot of people who do little things online. Maybe sell small personal goods or doing small services. Which platform would be suitable for them?
Yeah.
Would it be Instagram? Would it be Facebook? Would it be LinkedIn? How should they actually position themselves if they are a tech startup?
All right. So for tech startups, of course, the first question, I would say again, the two questions that I mentioned earlier, your objective as well as your audience. So if your objective is to, build brand visibility in the B2B space, and your audience are corporates, people who are in SMEs, holding managerial positions, well, then, of course, a suitable platform to start off with will be on LinkedIn, right? Because these people are already active on this platform. The audience is there. So now it's all about how do you enter this space and make yourself stand out, right? So the question is, how do you want to start on this platform? Again, brings me back to the point I made earlier. Identify your brand unique selling point. So I believe that every tech company will have something unique to offer, right? Yep. And now the question is, how do you want to use your personal brand, your personal story to shout out on this unique selling point through your content? Of course, it's easier said than done. There's a lot that goes behind when we plan content strategies. But yes, one of the easiest way to start is, what are the pain points you're solving? You have examples of that. Client testimonials, right? Or what is the process that you do when you service your client that is kind of different from what your competitors are doing? So when you can start to showcase this value to your audience, that is where you will start to gain their interest. Yeah, so that will be for tech companies. Of course, for those who are selling, goods, products that are very lifestyle based, I would highly recommend platforms more like TikTok, Instagram, where people are really attracted to visuals and pretty things and really lifestyle looking products. Instagram is an excellent platform. Then again, if you were to ask me, if this person doesn't have much resources, if it's a one-man show company and they are looking for the better platform to start off with, I would highly advocate LinkedIn, right? Why? Because number one, it will be the algorithm. LinkedIn's algorithm really celebrates good content. If your content is good, if it's engaging, right, if it stirs up conversation, LinkedIn rewards you with high visibility. And when I say high visibility, we're talking about 10,000, 20,000. For myself, the highest number of views I've gotten for my organic post is 76,000. Organically, right? I didn't pay for anything, but the only thing that I paid for was my time and effort to create this content. So that's the beauty of LinkedIn, right? When they notice your content is really something different, it's attractive, they do reward you with higher visibility, higher views. They really expose your content to a lot of eyeballs. It's very different from Facebook and Instagram. Facebook and Instagram, because it is so saturated today, it is now a pay-to-play platform. So if you got money, if you got budget, you can get more views. If you don't have money, you slowly wait. You slowly wait for someone to notice you, and someone to, eventually, maybe hopefully someone famous comment. But the chances of that happening is quite low. So if it's really just you, a one-man show trying to build your personal brand on Facebook and Instagram, you will see results, but it's very slow. And for most people, it's very discouraging. They give up. Yeah. So again, if you were to ask me where to start, highly encourage LinkedIn as a start because of the algorithm. They really celebrate good content, including B2C owners. I have seen a lot of B2C owners these days building their personal brand on LinkedIn. Like people were saying, like, oh, LinkedIn is not a place for B2C products, But the game is changing. Yeah, it's changing now. B2C owners are starting to come on this platform, and because they position it right, they are also gaining traction for their business.
Interesting. So coming on to the point where you actually mentioned, like, you have, like, when you're actually building a brand on LinkedIn, right? You want to have testimonials, you want to have people celebrating your success, or you're actually showing people your success. But what happens if those business owners, right, think they are not good enough? Although they do a good job, they produce, their clients love them, but they do not think they are good enough. What would your advice be to them?
Yeah, I think this is more of a mindset thing. In fact, I think those business owners will always have insecurity, thinking, oh, our competitor is doing a better job, oh, I don't think I'm doing enough, oh, I don't think that I'm there yet, hence I shouldn't start building my personal brand. But here's the thing, when it comes to personal branding, again, it is not about self-promotion. Of course, there are some elements where, you do promote about yourself and your business because you need to build credibility. But it is not entirely that, right? The most successful personal brand is the one that gets really vulnerable and real. Yeah. It's not about it's not about how well you can talk about yourself. It is really about how relevant your story is. And that is why failure story thrive a lot. That is why real talk, conversations, real conversations really thrive on LinkedIn. Right? When, people are touching on pain points that they are facing, these are stories that work really well on this platform, right? So if you think that you're not good enough, if you think you're making a mistake, if you think that, there are some failures that you've done recently and you're not proud of, well, try to turn that into something, a good learning that you picked up from this. Try to turn that into something inspiring for your audience, something that your audience can learn from, so they can avoid making the same mistakes, right? So, like for myself, when I started off as a social media freelancer, I was just a one-man show. I only had one client when I started branding myself on LinkedIn. One person, one client, barely any portfolio to showcase. I'm obviously no one credible, right? And if I were to go out on LinkedIn and say, oh, I'm the best social media marketer, I have a lot of clients trusting me, and I produce great results for my client, that would all be a liar because I didn't have those kind of results. Instead, I told people where I am, right? I started with just one client. I tell people what I do for this one client, what are the little results and small wins that we are getting together with this client, and from there slowly build my success story as I build my personal brand on LinkedIn. So for those of you who are listening and you feel that, hey, I don't think I'm ready to build my personal brand because I'm still a nobody, there's nothing much I can share about myself, nothing inspiring about me, well, you start from where you are, right? Build your confidence as you build your personal brand. It's a journey. Personal branding is a journey. You don't have to start from the top. You can start from the bottom and slowly build your way up.
Yeah. Is it safe to say that you are actually pretty much documenting your journey, not to tell people that how good you are, but to actually tell them your process of learning, and through that, people will see you as an authority?
Yeah, exactly. I love the way you put it. Yeah, it's personal branding is a process, it's a journey. Exactly, you don't have to start off being super successful to be considered a good personal brand. Start from where you are and slowly solidify it along the way. Like I can safely tell you, my personal branding is still not there yet, right? It is somewhat there, but it's not at the level I want it to be. And I know I wouldn't remain at this point forever because, as you grow in your business and as you grow as a person, definitely there are some things that will change, right? Like eventually, like some people start to brand themselves as a father eventually because they reach fatherhood and after having kids. So, these are things that will change over time as you progress in life. So, your personal brand will follow through, right? So, don't worry too much about having the perfect personal brand. I know I talked a lot earlier about identifying your unique selling points, making sure you differentiate yourself. But it also doesn't mean that you think too much about this, because the more you think, the more you won't do anything about it.
That's true. Right, cool. Laura, it's almost 10:30. So we quickly jump to our last question for the night. So Monica actually has a question. She actually mentioned that if we were to build a personal brand profile in IG and LinkedIn, is it okay to put different content across both platforms? For example, more work related content in LinkedIn, casual content personal on Instagram. What would your advice be?
Yeah, so Monica, the first thing again I will bring you to is the two questions I asked you earlier. So number one is, what is your objective of building a personal brand? And number two is where your audience are. So if your audience is on both platforms, like on LinkedIn and Instagram, and you feel like building a brand on these two platforms can help you support your objective, it could be a business or career objective, then ideally you want to keep it consistent, right? Because if you feel like these two platforms can help you reach your objective and reach your ideal target audience, consistency across platforms definitely helps. But if you feel that, hey, I think LinkedIn would be a more suitable platform that can help me reach my objective and reach my target audience, I want to treat Instagram more of, like my personal space. Then separate that is fine, right? Because that is where you know clearly that you are using LinkedIn for work and you are using Instagram for your personal reasons. And that is what I'm doing currently, because currently, if you ask me where I'm spending most of my effort on, is still primarily on LinkedIn, because I still haven't reached a stage where I have enough resources to support my personal brand across other platforms. Hence, I'm sticking to one platform at a time. So if you hop onto my Instagram and Facebook, you will see more of my personal life, right? And also more of my personal passion, in fact, which I don't share very much on LinkedIn. So one example of my personal passion would actually be on the scoliosis women. I'm not sure if you're familiar with what that is, Jonah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so because I myself, I do have scoliosis, right? So for those of you who don't know what scoliosis is, it's basically a spine that is in an S shape, where most people's spine is in a straight line. Mine is actually comes in an S shape, and because of that, it actually causes a lot of insecurity, especially among women, because scoliosis is more common among young girls, and that causes a lot of self insecurity, especially when you're growing up in your teenage years. And I actually talk a lot about this on my personal platforms. How do you overcome insecurities as a scoliosis patient? How can you utilize fashion? How can you build confidence for yourself? These are things I talk more on my personal platforms, which I don't talk very much on my LinkedIn, because LinkedIn I'm using it more for my business. So that is how I segregate my personal and work on social media. And again, I do that because my objective is clear.
Right, cool. Hope that answers your question, Monica. I really love how, Laura, you actually mentioned that you have your own personal brand on Instagram, while you actually do more work related content on LinkedIn. You have that separately. I am trying to do that personally as well. I think that works well for me, and I feel comfortable with that. So maybe I'll follow and continue on to that trend. So thanks, Laura, for actually sharing. So yeah, to our audience here who actually are tuning in from like 9:30 just now to right now, I really love to thank you guys for actually tuning in to the very end. We are actually at the very end of our session right now. If you guys have any takeaways from today's session, I'll highly recommend you to just type it down. Type it down right now. What is your biggest takeaway for tonight? I think Laura has been sharing a lot of gems, a lot of goals. Kate actually mentioned that Laura is sharing a lot of good facts, a lot of tips that she loves. Yvonne is saying that building personal brand and company brand simultaneously, golden nuggets. Laura is dropping a lot of value to you guys. If you guys are actually enjoying the whole session, do smash the like button, and also just let us know what's your biggest takeaway for tonight. And with that, we would love to thank Laura again. Laura, thank you so much for actually coming on and being interviewed by myself. It's really a big pleasure. You actually share a lot about your own personal journey and how you actually brand yourself. And what I really would love to take back from this session is like documenting your journey. Like you yourself, you're actually documenting. You're not showcasing like what you have actually done, but you're actually documenting like the process of how you actually got to where you are right now, and you are not afraid to say that you are not there and being vulnerable in that sense. So I thank you so much for that, to actually open up. So Laura, thank you so much. And do you have any last words for our audience here to take away?
Right. I would say is whatever stage you are in currently, don't overthink. Start building your personal brand lah. It never hurts to have a brand of your own, because when you build your personal brand, it belongs to you. No one can rob that away, right? Maybe someone can share a similar name with you, but it's still not you, right? They don't share your experience. They don't share your background. They don't share your expertise. So you are uniquely you. And now that you know that you have a personal brand, the question is, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to utilize it to your advantage, right? So start building it. It doesn't have to be big. Small efforts, create content, start on a platform, slowly build it, right? Over time, you will start to see the benefits flowing to you, whether is it for your business or for your career.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. To our audience here, Monica, Kate, Arthur, Whaley, Prince, Yvonne, Alex, Yongshen, Adrian, Ian, and on Clubhouse, Michelle, and Jasmine, Shiva, Adrian, Liga, Natalie, Joanne, Eddie, Chance, Jen, Pui, Sissy, Ian, Simon, Kieran. Thank you so much for actually tuning to the very end. I really appreciate your time for actually tuning and actually listening to what Laura has to share. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. Laura, thank you so much for your time. And this is all from me. I'm Jonah, and we will see you in our next session next Wednesday. Bye, guys. See ya.
Bye.